Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. It's Nurse Nikki. So today I'm going to talk about what it's like to be a nursing student, starting from when you wake up and you get out of bed all the way to the end of the day. A lot of you want to know like how long the day is and what all the day consists of. So I'm just going to briefly talk about that. So my program was accelerated. So for the most part, it was like kind of the same structure from the beginning to the end. The only thing that really changed was the clinical days and like the length of the clinical day. So I just start by when I first started back in January 2017. So my day really started about like I had to be at school. I would say like 8 o'clock if it was a non-clinical day, and I live about like 20 minutes from my school. So I had to be there at 8, and then I usually would have like 2 classes a day, and each class would be anywhere from like 3 to 4 hours long. So the first class might start at 8 and be over at 11, and then the next class might start at 12 and be over at like 3. So that was the length of a class. And again, these are days that I don't have clinical. So because I live like 20 minutes away from my school, I would usually wake up about like 6:30 and take a shower, brush my teeth, get ready for school, and then be out the house at like 7, because although I'm like 20 minutes away from my school, it's traffic and stuff. So in order to beat the traffic, I have to leave out even earlier so I would get to school on time. When I first started school, I didn't make breakfast at home or make coffee at home or anything. I would just go straight to school and either stop and get breakfast or get breakfast in the cafeteria. I talked about that in my last video. Make sure you guys have breakfast and coffee or, tea or whatever you need in the morning to be focused for the day. If I didn't have food before I went to school, it would be a bad day. I would have an attitude or I'd just be hungry. So I always had to get food and coffee. Towards the end of the program, I bought a coffee maker and I started making coffee at home. And sometimes I would make breakfast, just depending on how early I had to be at school, because I didn't like to wake up earlier than need be, so I wouldn't wake up just extra early to like do my makeup or make breakfast or work out. Some people at my school, they used to get up early, go to the gym. A lot of people used to do their makeup. I never did. I always came to class bare face, hair barely done, leggings, sweater. I never did the extra because I didn't want to wake up early. But to each his own. If you are a morning person and you love waking up early to prepare yourself to go outside, then, go right ahead. But just make sure you give yourself enough time. So, I said that I usually have like 2 classes a day. And then it would be like an hour break in between. And in that hour break, I usually would go get some lunch. And usually I would leave the campus and go get some lunch. My school sometimes had good food for lunch, sometimes they didn't. So, and then it's nice to leave and just get some air and get out of school. You got to be in there, you got to be in the same room for hours and you got to be in the same school for like so long. It's good to just get out and, go somewhere else for lunch. So I would usually go somewhere else for lunch, come back, get another cup of coffee for my second class, and, go back to class, finish out. And when I got home, sometimes it depends. Like if we had an exam, coming up, I would after class or like maybe like at 3 o'clock, I would leave school and go with like my friends or like, whoever I was studying with, and we'll go to a cafe or wherever we would go. We would leave straight from school, sometimes grab some food or whatever, and we'll go study until like 7, 8 o'clock. Really whenever we just felt like, okay, this is enough. But most of the times I would say like 7 or 8. So there was times where, I had to be at school at 8, but I wasn't getting home to 9 p.m. because I had to, study after class. So a lot of people don't understand how long the day can be. Yeah, you only are liable to be in class from, 8 to 3 or whatever, however long the day is going to be. But, did you understand all that information in class? Or do you have an exam tomorrow? You really got to keep that in mind. See, me, I can't study at home. I can't do homework at home. Nothing. I'm so distracted when I'm at home. I'm on my phone. I'm watching TV. I'm cooking. I'm doing something not related to school. So I would always have to either, stay at my school or go to a cafe or something to finish out my homework or studying. So I wouldn't come home until like 9 p.m., from school. And that wasn't every day, but that was probably like at least 3 out of the 5 days out the week that I had school, because you do have a lot of work in nursing school. Let me see, what can I compare it to? There's a lot of online quizzes. We had a lot of simulations that were online that we had to complete. We had papers. We had a lot of, a good amount of homework at the beginning. I think like towards the end, we had more exams that was like back to back, so it was like less homework assignments, but there's still a lot to do outside of class. Because I was in an accelerator program, I had an exam like every other week, if not every week. So when you're studying so hard for one exam that's on Tuesday and then you got another one on Thursday, that's a lot of stuff, to go over and make sure that you're prepared for when you get to that exam. So you want to make sure that even when you get out of school at 3 o'clock, you're taking at least like 3 or 4 hours to study for those exams or whatever you have. Also in nursing school, there's a lot of presentations. I am a very talkative person. I'm comfortable with speaking in front of people, so I don't get nervous when I have to do presentations. But there are people, one of my closest friends from school, who get so anxious when they have to present in front of the class or an instructor or whatever, and they need like 2 days ahead of time to make note cards and to, go over everything and make sure they have it down pat to present. So make sure you give yourself time for that, because there are a lot of presentations. I mean, every class I had to do a presentation, whether it be solo or in a group. But, you have to make sure that you're explaining all your information and you're talking just as I'm talking to you guys now without a note card, and you're talking and you're doing this, hand motions and eye contact when you're doing a presentation. So you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time to practice for those. I never practiced for a presentation because I was never nervous, and I would be able to just kind of like read the information and go through it and be able to just kind of like teach it or what have you. So I never really prepared for presentations. But if you find yourself being nervous in front of people and, you have difficulty speaking in large groups, then make sure you definitely give yourself time to prepare for a presentation. So, yeah, I would probably go through like 6 cups of coffee a day when I had class. And at first, I had some trouble sleeping because all the coffee I was drinking and my adrenaline was like racing, because it's like I got all this stuff to do, and also I was working too, which I talked about. So I was real anxious, and my sleep schedule was off a little bit. For me, when I got home, and a lot of people struggle with this in nursing school because you're up for so many hours of the day, you have so much stuff to do, and if you're drinking coffee or when it's time to go to sleep, they have such a hard time to fall asleep. They don't know what to do. And then it's like they don't have time to just mess around and fall asleep at 4, because then you got to be up at 8. So one thing that I used to do is I used to take Benadryl. And I'm not saying everybody just go and take Benadryl, but that's what I used to do. It worked for me. And no, not because I had allergies, but because Benadryl has a sedative agent in it to help you go to sleep. And I didn't take it like every night, but I did take it sometimes, like, maybe like 2 or 3 times a week to help me fall asleep, because it's a lot of stuff that you have to do. And, I drank so much coffee every day, like literally like 6 or 7 cups a day just to get through. So, you can be real jittery at night. So, I'm just going to talk about like my clinical days, because they were totally different than a regular lecture day. So, say I have to be at clinical at 6:30, that means I have to set my alarm for 5:30. I will prepare everything at night. So this is closer to the time where I got my coffee maker. So I would get my filter and put my coffee in and do everything at night. So when I woke up, all I got to do is press the button. I would put out all my snacks. So I tried to be healthy. So I got like granola bars, bananas, fruits, whatever I'm going to have. I put it all together so that when I wake up, all I got to do is grab it, press my coffee, brush my teeth, wash my face, get myself ready, and be ready to go. So making sure that you're prepared for clinical the night before is really important, because if you're late for clinical, you will miss a lot. You might get an assignment that you don't want. Your instructor is going to be pissed because you're not supposed to be late. I mean, are you going to be late to work when you got to be at work at 7 o'clock? And, you know, another thing that I appreciate about my school is they made us have to be at clinical so early. And at first I didn't understand it because the nurses wouldn't even be there yet, and we would be there first. And it's like, well, what are we going to do? We don't even have our nurses. We don't even know who our patients is. So we sitting here just looking stupid. And, of course, I'm mad because it's 6:30 in the morning, and I wanted an extra 30 minutes of sleep. But since, like, my last clinical was, like, it's called role transition, and it's kind of like you're working a little bit. And I used to be there at 6:30, and the nurses didn't used to come to 7. And I used to be able to prepare myself mentally and physically, make sure I got everything, make sure I go and look at the board to see how many patients we have, you know, what it's looking like, what the floor is looking like, what our acuity is looking like, are we short-staffed? Because if I know ahead of time that it's going to be a busy day, I can mentally prepare myself. It would start at like 6:30. We probably would get a break at like 1 o'clock where we could go eat lunch, drink coffee, whatever, and then come back, finish out with our patients. And then at the end, you would have this group where everybody goes around and talks about like what they learned or, you know, what they want to improve in or whatever. So clinicals were a really long day, and if you didn't get enough sleep, you wouldn't be on your A game for clinical. So make sure you get a lot of sleep for that. Definitely take notes at clinical. Make sure you take it serious. Don't come with an attitude. Come prepared. Come ready to learn. Come with your coffee. It's going to be a long day. You're not going to be used to being in the hospital, you know, doing stuff for 8 to 12 hours. So, you know, just be prepared. After clinical, I always went home and went to sleep. That was not a day for me to study because it's just you're doing so much, and, you know, it's physical work too, especially as a student nurse, because we're so eager to learn new things that we go out our way trying to help other people and, you know, just really like doing the most at clinical. By the time you get off, you're just so tired. So I definitely went home and went to sleep after my clinical days. Somebody asked about my essay to get into nursing school. I don't even remember writing the essay. If I did, I have no clue where it is. I'm sure that I talked a lot about, like, you know what, I think I did write an essay. And I think I just talked about how I decided to get into nursing school and why I wanted to be a nurse. And just really being, like, myself and creative. One of the reasons why I did choose nursing, besides me just looking for a stable career, was that when I went to school for business, we had to take, like, what was it called? It was like a science class, but it was more so about, what would you call this class? I'm going to look it up and I'm going to put it because I don't know. But it was like a class about, you know, the economy and other countries and their health status and just stuff like that, how it relates to business. And in that class, I learned a lot about malaria, among other diseases, and it hurt my heart to see how we have, you know, medication and prevention treatments for malaria, and then you look at places like South Africa, and children are dying every day over this disease. It's a deadly disease that they don't have the money to treat over there, and it broke my heart. And I always said that once I finished nursing school, if I had the chance, that I would go, you know, travel to a less fortunate country and try to help out voluntarily, like, you know, not looking for any type of payment, just to help, because even though I'm one person, it still will help, you know, maybe even if it just helps one child, like, that would mean the world to me. So that was one thing that I think I talked about in my essay. Don't steal that. I think that that's it. So, again, if you guys have anything else that you want me to talk about, leave a comment below. As you can see, I go back and read all the comments, or send me a message to my Instagram. Let me know what you guys want me to talk about. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.